How are you feeling overall because of the Meredith
Yeah, it's a lot. Like, that was a shock for me last night.
What do you mean?
Or, I mean, is Meredith behind the I don't understand. Do you think Meredith sent the DMs? Do you think it's her fake account? That's what everyone accused her of.
I don't know.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 4, Episode 15. And before we get started, let me just say, not only has Salt Lake City had a stellar season, but it's the way I have not been this excited for a finale episode in quite some time. I cannot wait to see Monica get exposed. And Monica, while you have given us storylines, you've given us drama, you have also been quite insufferable. And Miss Girl, finding out on your Twitter that your mom actually had nothing to do with what happened in last week's episode, with your family not wanting to see you, I just have to side-eye you. I just want to say that after this episode, it's clear that Meredith is telling the truth, and I have to take back what I said because I know in last week's recap, I thought that Meredith might have had something to do with the DMs, but honey, Monica's actions are showing me off screen and on screen that she's a part of all this mess about these DMs about Angie K. Now, Whitney, the way I'm about to get you together because you tried it, it is clear that Whitney wants a moment because, no offense, Whitney has been coasting. We have not gotten a really great storyline from her in quite some time. And I feel like the desperation to insert herself and create drama when it's not there. And we're all just exhausted. I was like, Whitney, you really tried it. But guys, I have a lot to say. Get comfortable, sit back, relax, grab a snack, because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. So we open up the episode. It's day 3 in Bermuda. Everybody's getting ready for the day. They're just relaxing in their rooms. And now we see Heather text Monica and she's like, hey girl, do you mind coming to my room? I want to talk to you. Let's go on a walk. And we see Monica go and join Heather for a walk. And of course, they start talking about what went down yesterday. So while they're walking on the beach, Heather's apologizing. She says that she's sorry if she ruined Monica's birthday dinner. She didn't mean to lose her temper, but stuff was brewing because earlier on in the day, she was still angry when Monica had asked her about her daughter's sex life. And then when Monica played that game at dinner, asking them when was the last time they all had sex, that was her boiling point. Now, Heather, I understand completely about you feeling a type of way about somebody asking about your daughter's sex life. Like, keep my daughter out of that, okay? Like, me and you are peers, not you and my daughter. So again, you're out of line. But I felt like the reason why you got upset at dinner, it seemed to me that you were embarrassed that maybe you're not dating and nothing's happening. And again, it's no judgment, it's no shade, but I was a bit taken aback by it because in earlier seasons, in season 1, you were talking a lot about sex and how you love black men. And I remember at one of Jen Shah's parties, you were saying that you would have like a fling with one of the guys there. You were very open about sex and your sex life in the beginning. So I definitely understand why everybody was taken aback at your reaction at dinner because you have talked about sex before. I'm just saying, I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. So Monica says that they're trying to get to know each other, they're new friends, and she's finding out that certain things are not up for discussion, and she respects that. So she apologizes to Heather, they hug it out, and now they start talking about the whole Meredith drama that also went down at the table. So Heather says that she's still in shock by all this mess going on, and now she wants to know, what does Monica think? So Monica says, well, I don't know. I don't think that Meredith would do that. And now Monica goes on to make a joke saying that she would be the one to do something like that. And I said, girl, there you go. I said, ding, 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 we have the culprit right here. Because I know personally for me, I'm not joking around like that. I feel like that right there is an admission of guilt. And I'm not trying to be funny, but Monica does have very questionable character. This woman sat up here cheating on her husband with her brother-in-law for 18 months. Then we see Monica blaming her mom in last week's episode for her family in Bermuda not wanting to see her. Then we find out on Twitter from Monica herself that her mom actually wasn't behind her family in Bermuda not wanting to see her. And we can't forget the fact that she was Jen Shah's friend / assistant for some time. And we already know that Jen was the biggest fraud and the biggest liar and scammer. She scammed millions of dollars from elderly people. And say what you want, but that old saying is so true about birds of a feather flock together. Because like minds generally hang out with each other. And Monica's character is very questionable. So for her to even joke like that, she was low-key telling on herself. And watching this episode was hilarious because seeing them all get upset with Meredith and ganging up on her, and now present day, nobody is speaking to Monica right now. Isn't that funny how that works? Seeing Heather talk about, oh, it just feels like the ultimate betrayal that Meredith was out here making fake accounts, talking about us, spreading lies and gossip and slander. And knowing that in the finale episode, we're about to see Heather expose Monica for the fraud that she is. And then seeing her right now, at this very moment, giving interviews and saying that she will not be filming with Monica ever again. She won't ever speak to her ever again. It's just so funny, like I said, how the tables always turn. And I just want to ask you guys, if you could do me one favor, the next time we get a new person to the cast, please hold me to it when I say that I will not make my final assessment about that person until episode 5. Because do you guys see the way I got caught up in the Monica hype in episode 1? And then by episode 5, I was eating my words. Like, I just feel so silly at the fact that I really was trying to stand for this girl. And I low-key feel like I have egg on my face because just like that, by episode 3 or 4, I was like, you know what? I actually spoke too soon. And she has become even more and more insufferable as the episodes have gone on. So now we jump over to Whitney and Angie playing tennis. And Whitney, you are not slick with what you're trying to do. You have an outright agenda to go after Meredith, and you can't even hide it. Because when you were like, can we talk about last night's dinner? And it's like we are still addressing Meredith once again about her spreading rumors. It's just so crazy. And I'm like, Whitney, just stop. You literally cannot keep her name out of your mouth. And for you to keep bringing up what happened last year, let's not do that. You were running your mouth too and spreading the rumor with Angie Harrington about Lisa and the Utah Jazz tickets. And then you pinned that all on Meredith. It's so irritating. Whitney is the definition of throwing rocks and hiding her hand. She wants to be the villain and the victim at the same time. And baby, I've told you a million times, that's just not how this works. You have to choose a lane. And Whitney, you really pissed me off when you went on to say that it was weird that Meredith was so calm while you guys were yelling at her at dinner, and how when you guys went back home to cut the cake and sing happy birthday to Monica, and she was in the kitchen having a good time, and you said, oh, it's just like she has a crazy disassociation because how can you do that? So let's just stop right here, because we know how you guys do. Had Meredith cursed you guys out at the table, you guys would have said that she was doing that out of guilt. So now you're angry at her that she sat there quietly and didn't say anything. She was obviously in a lose-lose situation. You guys are going to find a way to be angry at her no matter what. And despite me always preaching about speaking up and speaking your mind, letting folks have it, there's a time and a place for all of that, because when I tell y'all that silence is so powerful, 9 times out of 10, people want a reaction out of you, whether it's good or bad. So when you ignore somebody, that's the most powerful thing you could do. And they were all pissed that they did not get a reaction out of her. So now they want to spin it like she's crazy because she wasn't yelling and screaming the way they wanted her to. And also, Whitney, it's Monica's birthday. So that would have been really rude And you guys would have been talking about that had Meredith gone back to the house and gone back to her room while you guys sang happy birthday, right? Like, shut up. You really want a problem with Meredith. It's so pathetic. So now they change gears in the conversation, and Whitney goes on to ask Angie about Heather's blow up last night. She's like, wasn't that crazy? I was not expecting her to get so angry at Monica about that game. So now Angie says that when it comes to Heather and sex, she thinks that Heather still feels some shame because in the Mormon religion, sex before marriage is frowned upon, and she might have some shame attached to that. Then Angie goes on to say that maybe she felt embarrassed because she's not married. And Whitney says, well, honestly, I don't like the fact that Heather can talk about everybody else's sex lives, but we can't talk about hers. And I definitely understand Whitney's point because I don't like folks like that either, where you want to know all my business, but then when I talk to you, now all of a sudden it's mum's the word. Like it doesn't work that way, honey. If you want to know some of my tea, I need to know some of your tea as well. And like I mentioned earlier on, Heather used to be very open talking about her sex life in the earlier seasons. So it is a bit strange to see this complete 180 where she's like, my sex life is off limits. And I'm still sticking by my theory that I think it's because nothing's happening right now and she feels embarrassed about it. So we learned that Whitney's upset because she just finished reading Bad Mormon, and in one of the chapters, Heather wrote about when she was Whitney's photographer to shoot Whitney's sexy boudoir photo shoot that was an anniversary present for Justin. So Whitney feels like her sex life was exploited for Heather's book. And then she goes on to say that it rubs her the wrong way because for Heather to put that story in her book but not want to share details about her sex life, she feels like Heather's being a hypocrite. Now, Whitney, let's stop it right now. You are reaching because, my good sis, we have heard you talk about sex since season 1. In season 2, you and Justin did that sexy mud wrestling thing that got Justin fired from his job, might I add. So I'm sorry, girl, but this argument doesn't have any legs to stand on. You sound crazy. And it's obvious that you want to have an issue because you don't have a storyline. Whitney has been coasting. And a quick side note, it seems like Heather's done a bit of everything. I had no idea that she was ever into photography. So finding out that she was a boudoir photographer, I was like, oh, like, all right, wow, very interesting. I wonder how much she charged. Now we see all the ladies getting on the Sprinter van. They're going to have a cute yacht day. We saw that earlier on in the episode, Lisa had texted everybody that she had rented a yacht. So as they're on their way to the yacht, Monica takes out a razor and she's shaving her legs. I was grossed out by that. I just said, girl, you didn't have enough time to do that in your bathroom at the house. It's just stuff like that that feels so desperate, like you just want to have a moment. And when she was joking around saying, oh, this reminds me of my hoe phase, and I said, oh, so you're talking about when you were cheating on your husband with your brother-in-law? Was that it? So they pull up to the yacht, and mind you, we find out that it's not a yacht, it's a catamaran. But either way, very nice. Now, just a quick question. Can somebody tell me how come every other franchise is able to go on lovely and luxurious vacations, but it seems like a certain franchise called Potomac goes on these raggedy half-ass trips? But you know what? The way that cast is acting is really what they deserve because they're giving us low-budget behavior. So a low-budget trip goes hand in hand. So they're on the catamaran, taking shots, having fun, and we see them all taking a group picture except for Meredith. Meredith is over at the side, sitting by herself, and she says that it's very clear that the ladies are trying to ice her out, and she's on an island all by herself. So Heather walks over to Meredith and she says, look, Meredith, I'm here to give it to you straight. I've always looked at you as a real friend. We have a real friendship, but I do have to ask you, how have you gotten yourself in this mess? Then Heather goes on to say that she feels blindsided by all this news. And I said, let me just say this quickly. If you and I are good friends, what does that say about our friendship if you are so easily swayed and believe that I would even do something like this? So Meredith makes it clear that she's not behind any of this and that she's innocent. So she goes on to state her case and she says that she never said anything about Angie being in the Greek mafia. She doesn't even believe that. And it was Monica who said that whole thing about Angie's in the Greek mafia. So now Meredith brings up the lunch that she had with Monica a few weeks ago. And pretty much, Monica was the one running her mouth about Angie and all these rumors about the Greek mafia and money problems. And when lunch was over, Meredith received DMs from this account saying the same things that Monica was saying during their lunch. So that was the reason why she called Monica up, like, hey, did you get DMs from this account? Because they're saying what you said to me earlier on in the lunch that we had. And it's so annoying when Heather is so dramatic. She's like, you know what? I don't know what to believe. I don't know who to believe. And honestly, Meredith, you need to go over there and squash this immediately. I was like, Heather, shut up. You obviously don't believe your friend. That's just what it is. Because hearing that explanation, I was like, yeah, I believe Meredith 100%. So they're eating lunch, and let me just say, that spread looked so delicious. They had tacos, and those tacos looked amazing, and you already know my mouth was indeed watering, and it is watering right now. Now, while that lunch looked amazing, Meredith did not care. She was like, hey, Monica, can we talk for a minute? Monica was mid-bite. Monica was like, girl, can you wait till I'm done? And one thing about me, if you want to address me about something, that's fine, but wait until I have finished my meal. So Monica and Meredith are off to the side. Meredith says, look, Monica, it's clear that there are a lot of moving parts to this whole story, but I'm just confused because you're out here saying that I sent you these DMs. So Monica says, no, I never said that you sent me the DMs. All I said was that we had a conversation about Angie being in the Greek mafia. So Meredith denies it. She says, no, we did not. I never believed for a minute that Angie was a part of the Greek mafia. And now Monica starts screaming. I don't know who Monica thought she was screaming at. And that right there showed me that you're guilty and you're trying to spin this back on Meredith because you know that you're the one who did all this. So Monica's like, oh my gosh, Meredith, stop lying. Me and you both Googled Greek mafia. Just stop it. So now Monica goes on to say that Meredith was the one saying that Angie was broke and how can she afford her house because they don't have any money. And Meredith was like, girl, I wasn't saying that. That was all you saying that. Monica has been very weird towards Angie K. One minute they're good friends, the next minute she can't stand her. And you know what's really messed up? The fact that Monica got a free meal out of Meredith and this is how she repays Meredith by lying on her. I said, I know Meredith is pissed. Like, took the girl out for a free lunch, and this is how she does me. And their friendship reminded me a lot of Gina and Heather Dubrow because we saw how Gina turned on her good friend Heather. The same thing with Monica and Meredith. So while Monica is screaming at Meredith, now Lisa comes over and joins in, and she's like, Meredith, stop lying. You're a liar. You've been caught. Just admit it so we can all move on, but just stop it. You are hurting good people, Meredith. Stop this right now. Meredith, you effed up. You're caught. Just own it. Lisa, I would have worn you out because how dare you? I'm having a private conversation with Monica. Now you want to jump in and curse me out and yell at me? We would have had a problem on that boat because I will be damned if I have everybody yelling at me like this. That would not be happening. And Lisa, I just don't like how you claim that you want to start over with Meredith, but in the same breath, you're screaming at her, calling her a liar. It shows that you do not want to make amends with Meredith. And it's also really interesting because just a few episodes ago, you could not stand Monica. Now all of a sudden it's, oh, well, I believe her and Monica's not lying. It's like, girl, what? And I really hope that at this reunion, you apologize to Meredith because again, Lisa, I would have turned you every which way but loose had you started screaming at me on that boat. Because how dare you? So to add insult to injury, now you have Whitney jumping in. She's like, oh, well, I believe Monica because Monica is telling the truth. And last year, I participated in the same rumors and spreading gossip and lies about Lisa because of Meredith. I said, Whitney, you know, I'm just so sick and tired of you. You're a grown-ass woman. Nobody can force you to do anything that you don't want to do. Y'all had Meredith effed up. And I was so glad when she snapped and she was like, everybody shut up. You're pissing me off. I didn't do this. If you want to believe her over me, then that's on you. But I'm telling you right now, I didn't do anything. And when she got up and walked away, I said, good. Pay them dust. And Meredith, you're better than me because I would have cursed each and every one of them out individually and then I would have walked over to the other side. Now, I was happy when they all started having fun. They were dancing. Whitney and Monica were swimming. And now we see Meredith walk over to Angie and she's like, Angie, I know that you and I have had our differences, but I can assure you I was not a part of any of this stuff that she's accusing me of. Then she goes on to say that she's unsure if they can reset and start a friendship, but she does want Angie to know that she's not out to get her. Now, Meredith, while I respect you walking over to Angie and trying to settle things, my only gripe with you is that you let this beef with you and Angie play out for too long. So now Angie has doubts about your sincerity and she still thinks that you did it. If you had resolved things with Angie maybe 4 or 5 episodes ago, then I feel like your case would have been stronger. And I think that you would have had Angie on your side to defend you and say, you know what, I don't believe that. I don't think that Meredith would do that to me. But because you let this fight between you guys go on for so long, now you have Angie looking at you like, okay, girl, I guess. So now their boat ride is over. They're back on the Sprinter van to go back home. And Whitney lets them know that dinner is going to be in 2 hours. So now we see Lisa and Meredith sitting together on the back of the bus. And Meredith says, look, Lisa, I know that you and I are on the outs right now, but I did want to share with you that Brooks just got signed to Ford Models. So Lisa says, oh my gosh, Meredith, that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. Monica, you sounded absolutely ridiculous getting upset watching Lisa and Meredith talking at the back of the bus. Girl, why do you care? Say what you want, but you're the newcomer to this group. Lisa and Meredith have over 10 years of history between them. So whether they are screaming at each other or cursing each other out, if they do want to talk 5 minutes later, that's their business. Are you jealous, sis? You're jealous that you're not the one talking to Lisa? Is that what it is? Your new best friend is now being taken away by her old best friend. Is that what it is, sis? Because that's what it's feeling like. Whitney making the joke about how her husband has the perfect nose for going down on her. Then she's asking Heather a sex question. And then you have Heather saying, oh, respect my boundaries. I don't talk about sex or my sex life. And then Whitney going on to say, you know what, Heather? You really confuse me when it comes to your boundaries. And I say, yeah, because 1 minute Heather's talking about sex and her love for black men. Then the next minute is, oh, I don't want to talk about sex. It's like, yeah, I'm confused too. But Whitney, I will say that you're doing a bit too much. If she does not want to talk about it, then just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Is that so hard? So they're all back at the house getting ready for dinner. And we see Monica in her room getting made up. And now Whitney comes in her room and she also wants to get her makeup done. They start talking about Meredith. So Monica's like, did you see that on the bus? Did you see Meredith walking up to Lisa and now they're chummy again? They're talking. It's just so clear that Meredith is trying to get people on her side And then Whitney's like, yeah, that's exactly what she's doing. I said, y'all sound so dumb. At the end of the day, you cannot deny the fact that Lisa and Meredith will always have some sort of connection because they were super close at one point. They were best friends for over 10 years. So despite where they are now, they're going to always have a bond. It might not be as strong as it used to be, but it's always going to be there on some level. When they got to the restaurant is gorgeous. That view, stunning. And it was a sushi restaurant. I love sushi, so you already know that yes, my mouth was watering during this scene too. You know what's sad? The fact that I'm already thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner the minute I shut this camera off. They're all taking selfies at the table. The producer's asking Whitney how many selfies does she have. I think she said that she has 7,000 selfies on her phone. Heather says that she has 11,000 selfies. And now we find out how many selfies does the Lisa Barlow have on her iPhone. So Lisa's like, I have 28,219 selfies of me. I mean, it makes sense. That's why I have 2 terabytes of storage. Now, nobody was surprised that Lisa had the most selfies out of everybody because it's Lisa Barlow. It felt like somebody on production told everybody where to sit because you already know that Meredith is not speaking to Monica. So the fact that Meredith and Monica were sitting across from each other, I said, yeah, somebody over on production did that because there's no way that I want to look at the person that I'm beefing with while I'm having my dinner. I would have switched seats with somebody because I would not have sat across from Monica.
No.
And Monica was really hurt by Meredith ignoring her at the table because she was trying to get her attention. She was like, oh, I forgot to bring my Excedrin. My head is hurting and I feel like my right eye is hurting me. I can't really shut it. So now Monica starts joking around that she thinks that she had a stroke. So Heather's like, oh my gosh, Monica, don't say that. If you were having a stroke, you would know it because half of your face would be paralyzed. You would not be able to move half of your face. So now we find out that some years back, something happened to Heather where she had a stroke, or I think she said she had Bell's palsy, but she had something where she was unable to move one half of her face. And it was so bad that one eye was shut and she couldn't even move half of her mouth. And so she was saying that it was a horrible time because her husband had just left her, and she was a single mom to 3 girls under 8. And Heather is too much because she even said, I looked a mess. I couldn't even smile in my Costco card. And they showed her Costco card. I was like, oh my gosh. But at least Heather can laugh about it now. And thank God that she's okay. So now Monica's like, look, Meredith, I'm sensing some tension between us. Are you mad at me? You won't even look at me. You won't talk to me. And Meredith says, yeah, girl, I am pissed because of what happened earlier on today. Now, Monica, you bringing up how you were upset seeing Lisa and Meredith talk to each other on the Sprinter van, you sounded ridiculous. And like I said, it gave jealousy because why are you pressed? Let's talk about the real matter at hand. That was her best friend for a number of years. Who are you to dictate that she can't talk to her? Like, Monica is just annoying. And I don't understand how people go up for her. She's very irritating. I feel like she has arrested development because Monica really acts like she's still 15 years old. Meredith was like, excuse me, am I not allowed to talk to Lisa? So now Lisa jumps in and she says, I know I came very hard at you today, but I was really angry. But honestly, it's like a sister thing. I can scream at you and then 5 minutes later I can be like, oh my gosh, let's go shopping. That's how I talk to my real sisters. And I just said, really? I've never agreed with all that about you can talk to me crazy just because we're blood. No, we can argue and get into it, that's fine. But there's always respect. It's not ever going to the gutter where we're cursing each other out and then saying, okay, like, let's go shopping. Like, no, we would not be speaking if that were the case. Also, Lisa, all you had to say was, Meredith, I'm sorry for screaming at you on the yacht. That was unacceptable. I was upset. I did feel like you weren't telling the truth, but I had no right to yell at you. And Meredith, here's where I get irritated with you, because I would have checked Lisa right there. Like, don't use that as an excuse about, oh, you and I are like sisters for you to yell at me like that. I would have said it outright, Lisa, I need an apology because how you operated on that boat was unacceptable. I just don't like how Lisa has this attitude where she can say and do whatever she wants to, but yet nobody can do the same to her. Because I can assure you, had Meredith yelled at her, she would be crying about it now. We wouldn't hear the end of it. So now Meredith says that she understands because that's just how Lisa is, and she accepts it. So now Monica's like, but you're mad at me. And it's like, girl, like I said, they have history. You don't have history with Meredith or anybody in this group. Her and Lisa were friends for a long time. So you can't compare their relationship to yours. You're a new friend who crossed the line. So if Meredith pays you dust going forward, then that's what it is. But her and Lisa have history together. So they're all over the conversation, and now they start talking about what are their summer travel plans. We find out that Heather's oldest daughter, Ashley, is going to Italy, and now they bring up how Lisa's son, Jack, is going on his mission to Colombia in a few months. So Lisa gets emotional. She says that while she's having fun in Bermuda, she can't wait to go back home because she feels like she's missing quality time with Jack. Now, finding out that Jack just went on his mission like a month ago because his visa wasn't approved in time, it's just so funny to me that Lisa's doing all this crying and he didn't even go on his mission trip until the end of this year. So Lisa, you should feel happy that you got an additional 3 months with Jack because he just left like literally right before Thanksgiving. So dinner is over and Whitney says that she wants to continue the night by having some fun. And she says, in honor of Monica's birthday, since her birthday dinner was a complete flop, let's have some fun tonight and let's go to the oldest bar in Bermuda. So they're all on board. They pull up to the bar and the bar was really cool. They had dollar bills coming from the ceiling. I was like, okay, note to self, when I go to Bermuda, I'm going to that bar because it did look lit. And those drinks looked good, especially Lisa's pina colada. And yes, my mouth is salivating because I love a pina colada, especially with the shot of Henny. Now, silly me to think that they were actually going to have a good night with no drama. We see them dancing and having fun with the crowd. They're taking shots, ordering drinks. And now Angie says, we should play a game. They all looked around. They said, girl, no games. Every time we play one, it always ends in a fight. Now, it seemed like Lisa was trying to play a game. She starts asking the group questions. She's like, okay, well, who here has read Heather's book? Heather says, look, I really don't care about that as long as they bought it. No, Heather, that's not true because the way you've gone on about how the women didn't read your book, you obviously do want them to read it as well as buy it. So I just said, girl, which one is it? But Lisa goes on to ask Heather, how many books has she sold? Heather says that she's sold tens of thousands of books already. And a quick shout out to my subscriber who let me know in the last recap that you bought Heather's book and it was actually good. I said, well, you know what? I might have to get the book myself. It's been in my cart for quite some time. I don't know what it is. I guess I just feel like Heather gets on my nerves so bad. That's why I'm hesitating to buy the book, but I think I might just buy the book. So here's where everything goes left. Whitney says that she's read Heather's book and she has a few gripes about it. So she goes on to add that she was confused to see Heather lash out at Monica when Monica asked the sex question at last night's dinner because she low-key exploited her sex life with Justin in her book. Heather was not here for it. She was like, girl, what the F are you talking about? So Whitney goes on to say that Heather's a hypocrite because Heather talks about everybody else's sex lives, but when it comes to hers, she's on mute. So Heather says, girl, don't get it twisted. That's not what this is at all. I was just telling a funny story in my book about the time when I was a boudoir photographer, and that's how we met. That's it, and that's all. Stop putting extra sauce on this. Now, we know how Whitney is. Whitney is a broken record. Whitney says, you exploited my sex life. I don't appreciate it. And Heather gets up and says, girl, you sound like an idiot. Heather swears that she's me because when I tell y'all, if I'm ever in an argument and the other person is making no sense, I will gladly throw out, you know you sound like an idiot, right? Like that is one of my go-tos. And when Heather said that, I was screaming. I said, yeah, girl, I'm right there with you because Whitney did sound like an idiot to say that Heather exploited her sex life in her book. I said, girl, are you all right? Is everything okay? And one thing about it, Heather said, honey, I have arrived. She said, you will not take credit because I am a New York Times best-selling author, okay? Like, don't even do it. I said, I know that's right. I said, you better flex. You better let us know that you're a New York Times bestseller. When Heather jumped out of her seat to leave, and she damn near pushed Whitney out the way. I got a flashback of when she pushed Whitney when they went to Arizona last season. That was a mess. But Heather was not here for it. She said, get the F out of my way. I'm leaving. Leave me alone. She storms out the bar. And now you have Whitney running out behind her. And Whitney is still screaming. She's like, Heather, you're running away because you're guilty. You know that I'm right. You exploited my sex life. You exploited my vagina. And Heather turns around and she's like, girl, stay away from me. Don't come near me. You sound crazy. Whitney's still screaming that it's unfair that Heather sex shamed Monica, but wrote about her in her book. Whitney, I'm going to say this one time and one time only. You need help. And that's not even any shade. But the reach for you to tell this woman that she exploited your sex life because she told one story of how you guys met when she was a boudoir photographer and she took pictures of you years ago. You want to say that she exploited you? You sound nuts. And it's never a good look, Whitney, when you go to such lengths for a storyline. I just want Whitney to stop with all these antics. But sitting up here conjuring up things just so you can have a moment, this felt like somebody on production put you up to this. Like somebody whispered in your ear, okay, girl, you know that we have about 1 or 2 more episodes left. Your spot is on the chopping block. You might want to make something shake now before we wrap this up because you haven't had many memorable moments this season. So say something crazy to save your spot for season 5. That's what this gave. Because again, this made no sense and you look stupid. But we end the episode with Heather across the street. She's telling the producer to leave her alone. She says, look, I need a moment. Just leave me alone. And that's where we ended. But guys, when I tell you this episode was a 10 out of 10, SLC is really giving what the other girls were supposed to have gave in the words of the iconic Rolling Ray, because this season has been flawless. I'm gonna go on record and say that this has been one of the best seasons in a very long time across all the franchises. They are top 2 and they're not 2. The girls are working. But y'all, that was my recap. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.